Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm Juliana and this is the Sprocket Girl channel, and today we're at the Three Sisters Alderfer Park and I have some big news. I have got a new bike. I got myself a Yeti SB130. So as some of you might know, I just moved back to Switzerland, but I do visit here in Colorado fairly often, and because I took my Stumpjumper back to Switzerland, I needed a backup bike here in Colorado for when I come to visit. And I'm so excited to ride my favorite trails here in Colorado, in the Front Range and in the surrounding states with this new bike. All right, come along on the ride and let's see what this SB130 can do. All right, so this is one of my first rides on my new SB130. We're here at Evergreen, the Alderfer Three Sisters Park, one of the trails that we like to ride. So I chose this ride as one of my first rides because it is one of the trails that we have ridden a decent amount in the past, and I always rode with my Specialized Stumpjumper. So now I'll have a direct comparison with this bike. So when I moved to Switzerland, I brought my Stumpy with me over there, but ended up not having a bike here. And since I still visit a decent amount in Colorado, it made sense to also have a bike here instead of renting for weeks on end, which could get pretty expensive after a while. So enter the SB130. I'm very excited about this new purchase. Very excited about this new addition to our bike family, and extremely excited to ride all of my favorite trails, all my home trails in Colorado with this new bike. So I did make a review video on my SB130. If you haven't seen that, go check it out. I'll leave a link to the video. And there I talk about all the different specs and geometry and all that good stuff. But today I'll kind of be talking about the bike handling, how it feels on the trail, how it feels climbing, and how it feels going down. So first things first, this bike does have 29-inch wheels. I have only ever ridden 27.5 since I started mountain biking 4 years ago. So that's something really new for me and exciting. And yeah, some of the first things I already noticed is you can really kind of plow over features, well, at least smaller features. If you give it enough power, these 29er wheels will just kind of mow over everything, which is really fun and something I have to get used to, because with my Stumpy I would kind of need to pick lines and maybe avoid certain rocks, or at least, you know, really power through them. Whereas with these 29 wheels, you, I don't know, it feels kind of like a tank, both going up and down. You just kind of point and go. On the uphill, obviously, you just have to kind of give it some momentum, but then it'll clear a lot of features that I am not really used to clearing, so that's kind of cool. So one thing I have noticed with these larger 29 wheels, and which I hadn't really thought about before I got on the bike, is that they're much less forgiving with any lateral movements. So with my 27.5 wheels on the Stumpy, I was kind of used to, you know, making adjustments with the front wheel, right to left, and it's pretty forgiving. But with these larger wheels, I noticed that the same adjustments that I would make with my smaller wheels result in a much larger deviation to the right or the left, which obviously makes sense, but I hadn't thought about that, and you definitely notice it. I noticed that it's much less forgiving with certain adjustments that I'm used to, so I'm learning now to make much smaller, more nimble adjustments with the front wheel, which is a really interesting experience. And it's kind of the first times I got on this bike, it felt really floppy in the front because I was making larger adjustments right to left, and the wheels would go out to the side and almost off the trail. So it's kind of cool. It's this new learning experience just by the fact that the wheels are larger. I'll watch you. See what Graham does. Get it? So actually I've sessioned this section, exactly this section before in another video, so go check that out if you're interested, with my Stumpjumper. And it's kind of tricky, like the tendency is to go to the left because the entry looks nicer, but the exit is much worse. So going straight up that kind of hilly rock right there in the middle is kind of what you want to go for because the exit is much easier. I think I'm just gonna have to power it a little bit. Nice. That was much easier on this bike than with the Stumpy. Woo! Just plowing through everything on these 29ers. So one other thing to consider is that this bike is a few pounds heavier than my old bike. And I was a little worried that I would really feel the weight and that it would be really hefty, especially on the climb. Because I actually wanted a little bit of a heftier bike for the downhill, but my Stumpjumper is such a nimble and easy climber that I was worried that getting any new bike that was a bit heavier would really mess up my climbing experience. But I have to say, so far, even though it's a bit heavier, it's not feeling too bad at all. Climbs pretty well, actually. Still feels pretty nimble. And again, with the larger wheels, you kind of just roll over some smaller technical stuff without too much effort. The other thing about this bike is that it has a much slacker head tube angle than the Stumpjumper, which together with the larger wheels automatically makes for a larger or a longer wheelbase. So basically your front wheel is pushed out more in front of you, which on the one hand is great for the downhill because it makes it more stable, but sometimes you can kind of sacrifice the uphill climbing experience because sometimes if you need to get around tight turns or up a switchback or something like that, just having this longer wheelbase can be a little bit of an obstacle. But I have to say, so far I feel pretty good on this bike. The other thing I'm excited about is having a Colorado brand bike with this Yeti. I mean, that's really cool. And their headquarters are literally in Golden, really close to where we always ride, and I don't know, it's just kind of cool. Support local bike brand. Oh man, my legs are tired. Although I have to remind myself sometimes to cut myself some slack and be kind to myself, especially because I just flew over from Switzerland like 4 or 5 days ago. No, 5 days ago, yeah. And this is my 4th day of riding in a row on a new bike. So I think I'm doing pretty well. Sometimes you have to give yourself your own little high five for getting out there, getting on the bike, doing something. It's always so easy to be critical of yourself and like, oh, I didn't clean that, or not fast enough, my legs are so tired, blah, blah, blah. Instead of being like, I got up and got on my bike, I'm out here pedaling at 8,000 feet or whatever altitude. I'm giving my best, challenging myself at whatever level that might be, doesn't really matter. And the main thing is, are you having fun? Are you enjoying being out in nature and exercising and doing fun stuff? So next time you cut yourself being hard on yourself, give yourself a little internal high five, kudos from being out there on your bike and crushing it at whatever level you're at. Whew. Almost at the top, and then it's all downhill. And I'll talk a little bit more about how this bike feels on the downhill. Wow, it's definitely, if you give it some power, you can definitely get over stuff and clean things fairly easily. My legs are gonna be toast after this. All right, let's do the downhill part. Let's see what this bike can do on the downhill. I'm pretty excited. I have high hopes for it. Not quite feeling it on this bike yet. It's just an awkward turn here. So I think get down here and then try to take a narrower turn than over that rock. I was going all the way over to where those rocks are on the side where the tree is. But I think I need to try and make a slightly tighter turn. So maybe come down like this and then like that. All right, let's try that. Give that a try. This is a somewhat bigger bike and it's longer, so it feels a bit more awkward in a turn. So let's see. Awesome. Woo. I'm glad I tried that again. Woo. Nice job, bike. Woo. Self high five. Got to give yourself that. It helped to like mini session it or just look at the line real quick. Yeah. Cool. I'm really stoked that I got it. Thanks. Thanks. That was fun. Yeah. I'm definitely noticing small things like the rebound needs to be a little bit less less quick or whatever you call it, less intense.
So you want it to slow down?
I want it to slow down so that it doesn't rebound me off every single rock. I want it to kind of go. The rear rebound and shock seem to be okay, but the front's just a bit too poppy. It's fun to notice these mini adjustments. Yeah. Oh, that is really fun on the downhill. It's kind of like a tank. It's really, really stable. Much more stable than what I'm used to on the Stumpy. Feels much more planted, not as squirrely. Stumpy is a really light bike, and because of the short head tube angle and the short wheelbase, it can be a little bit squirrely and poppy. Whereas this bike is just really stable on the downhill. It's just kind of point and go. Rolls over everything with these 9er wheels, or 29er wheels. Oh man, that's so fun. This bike, like, it's really interesting. I feel much more stable and secure on this bike. Like, I feel like I can do more on it. I feel less anxious, especially on kind of loose stuff, which is really nice. It's nice to know that it's not just about me being afraid. It also really has a lot to do with the geometry of the bike and how comfortable you feel on it. Overall, for my first ride, or for my first longer ride, let's say, on this bike, I am super happy about it. It climbs really well. It feels super stable and planted on the downhill, which is what I was looking for in a new bike. And I'm just having a blast on this trail. This bike is just a great all-rounder. I mean, again, nimble climber. If you've got the power to get it up, it is a little heavier and it's a little bigger and longer, but if you can handle that, it does really well climbing, and the downhill on it is just super fun and awesome. So I'm looking forward to many more rides on my new SB130 here in Colorado and surrounding states, and who knows where it'll take me. All right, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Also, if you really like this channel and if you like some of my videos and you want to get notified when new content comes out, consider subscribing to the channel and giving some thumbs up to the videos, and also clicking on that little bell button so that you get notifications every time I post a new video.